Okay, so let's tackle a question that sounds simple but is actually surprisingly tricky. What exactly is marketing? It's a word we throw around all the time in business, but almost nobody agrees on what it means. Let's get into it. So, I'll just ask you straight up, what is marketing? Seriously, if you walked around your office and asked 10 different people, you'd probably get 10 different answers. And this isn't just some academic debate. This confusion, it has a huge impact on how companies spend money, how they structure their teams, and really what they decide is important. We've all heard these, right? In one meeting, marketing is all about running more ads. In the next, it's about fixing the sales funnel. Then someone else says it's about building the brand. And look, none of these are wrong exactly, but they're just one little slice of a much, much bigger pot. So to really get our arms around this, we're going to walk through 4 key ideas. First, we'll dive into that big misunderstanding. Then I'll show you a framework that brings some much-needed clarity. After that, we'll look at marketing through a few different lenses. And finally, we'll tie it all back to how it actually connects to the rest of the business. So let's start with the big question. Why is this one word so tough to pin down? Well, the problem is that marketing lives right at this chaotic intersection between a company and a market that is always changing. New customers, new competitors, new technologies. It's a moving target. And this slide right here, it gets to the heart of the whole issue. So often, people mistake a single tactic, the slice, for the entire system. Saying marketing is just advertising is kind of like saying an orchestra is just the violins. No, the violin is an instrument, a very important one, but it's not the whole symphony. The real system is about connecting the entire company to its market. Okay, so how do we move past all this confusion? Well, the source material gives us a really powerful framework. And here's the key. Instead of defining marketing by its activities, like running ads, we're going to define it by the fundamental business problems it's built to solve. Let's see how that works. Every single business, whether it has a marketing team or not, has to solve these 4 problems. And they have to do it in this order. First, you have to understand your market. Who is buying this thing and why? Then, you have to shape that insight into an offer they can't refuse. After that, you create demand for it. You build awareness and trust. And finally, you capture that demand, making it as easy as possible for people to actually buy. So those 4 problems are handled by these 3 continuous jobs. You create demand, you capture it, and, this is the really crucial part, you compound it. Think of compounding like a financial investment, but for your business. It's that slow, steady work of building assets, things like brand reputation, customer loyalty, unique data, that make all your future growth easier and cheaper. This is the real difference between just running short-term campaigns and actually building long-term value. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Marketing isn't this standalone thing. It borrows ideas from all sorts of other fields. And if you can understand these different lenses, it helps explain why 2 very smart marketers can look at the same problem and come up with totally different answers. They're just looking at it from different angles. Let's break this down real quick. The economics lens keeps you honest about profit. The psychology lens helps you understand why people hesitate before clicking buy. The sociology lens, well, that's what reminds you that people don't just buy a pair of sneakers, they buy into a community, a sense of belonging. Technology gives you the tools to scale, and design makes sure the entire customer journey feels good and actually delivers on what you promised. Great marketing is all about knowing which lens to pull out for which problem. All right, let's bring this down to earth and get really practical. All this theory is great, but marketing doesn't operate in a vacuum. A ton of the friction inside companies comes from these blurry lines between marketing and its partners, right? Strategy, sales, product, who does what? Defining who owns what is an absolute game changer. Just look at the slide. Marketing might lead on who to target, but they absolutely need input from strategy and sales. And pricing, that's almost always a partnership between marketing and finance. When you actually write this stuff down and make it clear, a vague frustration like, sales isn't using our messaging, becomes a solvable problem like, okay, let's get in a room and make sure we all agree on the value prop. It changes everything. So, after all of this, what does it all boil down to? The source material gives us this incredibly powerful and simple definition. Marketing is the management of customer choice. That's it. It's about making it easier for the right customers to notice you, to understand you, to trust you, and ultimately to choose you over everyone else, and to do it again and again. And that really brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. This isn't just about what marketing is, it's about what marketing does. So, when you look at your own company or your own team, ask yourself this: how well are we really managing our customers' choice?